Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Brotherly Love in the District. Tristan here, along with Jacob. And Jacob, you want to go ahead and tell them what we're going to get into?
Yeah, today we have a little mini episode. It's a little special. So, since the NHL playoffs have started, the regular season has ended, all the matchups are set. We're going to go through like we did last year and predict our own brackets, which typically means that whatever I choose, the opposite's going to happen is going to happen. So, let's get right into it.
This is one of my favorite things to do. I like doing this last year, and I think I definitely beat you last year, being that
Oh, yeah.
you had like what, three total first round picks, right? Out of
I think I'd like
eight.
two.
Uh so yeah, I think it's safe to say that I won that one last year. But this year we don't have a wonky one. And last year this did really good. Like views wise, you guys really blew this one up, especially on our YouTube channel at Brotherly Love in the District, where we actually have the bracket up on screen so you can see the whole bracket and as we're going through it. So we'll start off in the Western Conference with you. First matchup, number 1 seed against number 8 seed, Avalanche against the Predators. Who do you have winning?
Um, Credit to the Predators. I think they've had a really great and surprising season. I personally did think they'd make the playoffs this year, but back behind the play of Roman Yossi, who had almost 100 points as a defenseman, they had a really great season. However, I cannot see them getting past the Avalanche. So I have Avalanche winning in 5 games.
5 games. I also have the Avalanche winning in 5 games. Yeah, and you know who else really kind of popped off in this season is Matt Duchene. Matt Duchene had an amazing year this year. So he kind of came out. Philip Forsberg has always been a stud, but yeah, I mean, the Avalanche are just stupid good right now. And I don't know if there's any team in the Western Conference that can stop them. And actually, one thing that you'll notice is if you'll look here over on this Western Conference side, I think you'll notice one big piece missing here. That's the Vegas Golden Knights missing the playoffs for their first time in their 5-year existence. So, uh, yeah, and that was really the only team that looked like they had a shot of taking down the Avalanche last season. But I'm also going to move the Avalanche up and beating the Preds. I would give them 5. The Predators might be able to pull one, a little lucky one out late and maybe get a 6 game, but the defense, Cale Makar has an amazing offensive skill set, and Nazem Kadri, who has found the fountain of youth this season in his age 30 season, going into a contract year, so he's going to be getting a big payday. The Avalanche are just clicking on all assets of the game right now, and I think that they're going to easily walk by the Preds.
Yeah, I did too.
All right. This is a pretty good matchup. You got Kirill Kaprizov and the Wild going against the Blues, Stanley Cup champions about 3 years ago now. What are you thinking here?
Um, like it's weird. The Blues, I always never really thought they had a great core, but they always keep making the playoffs. They're just a solid team all around. But I think the Wild are a lot younger. They're a lot hungrier, and Kirill Kaprizov has had an amazing season.
He's top 5 in goals right now.
Yeah, he has over 100 points, and he's played less than 5 seasons. So I have the Wild winning in 6 games. I think that's going to be a really good, tough series.
I think that Kirill Kaprizov, I want to say that he was a 4th round pick.
Yeah, I don't think he was
a
the
late
highest
round
pick. Yeah.
he was a late round pick. I know he wasn't a top pick. But yeah, he was a late round pick, and yeah, he has really shown up this season. And it started off last season where he showed a little glimpse, and this season he's had his coming out party, and he's been playing really well. And like you said, the Blues are kind of just like a team that's there. Do you have a game prediction? How many games?
6.
6. I think that the Blues are kind of a team that all around are solid. And that's why I'm going to actually have the Blues winning, just because I think overall their team is good. I think they surprised me a little in the fact that they did make it to the playoffs. because they weren't having that great of a season to start out. And they kind of wrapped it up more towards the middle of the season and finished out strong to end up making the playoffs, finishing off third in the Central. So this is going to be a good matchup and a close one, but I am going to have the Blues edging it out. Former Flyer over there still in Braden Shen and Jordan Binnington. He may not be putting up the numbers that he did in his rookie season when they won the cup, but he's still a solid goalie overall. So I'm going to go with the Blues there. I would say, I honestly think that series could go to 7. I think that game.
Yeah, it's very possible.
All right. Calgary and Dallas.
Calgary all the way. I don't understand
not even a second thought.
I seriously don't understand how Dallas has been good over the past few years. Like a few years ago, they made it to a Stanley Cup, and it's not like their core has been really different. It's been Jamie Benn, it's been Tyler Seguin. I just don't understand how they're continuously good. But yeah, I just think the Flames, they're playing really good. Kachuk and Gaudreau both had amazing.
Gaudreau really stepped it up. Another guy in his contract year.
Yeah, and Jacob Markstrom, I believe that's their goalie. He's had a great season as well.
Yeah, Jacob Markstrom started out the season with, I want to say, 3 shutouts in 5 games. He was going insane at the beginning of the season. He just played well all around. Johnny Gaudreau is top 5 in scoring right now. He's been playing really well. And Matthew Tkachuk is one of those guys who's really gritty and kind of annoys the other team. He's a really good player. So I'm also going to take Calgary here. I mean, I think this one's kind of a no-brainer. Don't get me wrong. Dallas is a good team. I wouldn't really say they're a great team. Like you said, Jamie Benn, they've kind of had the same core all along, and they're starting to get older. And there's no real names except for Tyler Seguin that really scream out at you and say, like, whoa, look at our team. We're so good. So who's their goalie right now? I don't even know who their goalie is.
I have no clue.
I think it's still Anton Hudobin, right?
I think so, but I honestly have no clue.
You know who I actually forgot about in the Blues Wild series? The fact that the Wild just got Marc-Andre Fleury. I totally forgot about that. I still think the Blues are going to win, but that is a factor that I forgot to put into play in my brain as
I can't see the Blues beating that Wild team. I think they're really good.
But yeah, I think, like you said, this Calgary really stepped it up late in the season to get into that number 1 spot in the Pacific Division, and played really well. And like you said, Johnny Gaudreau had an amazing season. So yeah, I think Calgary is going to win that one there. As of right now, we both have the same, except for the Wild game series. I think this one's going to be different too. This one's going to be another close one in the Oilers and the Kings.
This is a difficult series for me. I kind of see the Oilers kind of like the NHL's version of the Angels, where they have 2 really like great generational players, but they don't have a lot after that, in my opinion. And with the LA Kings, you still have Kopitar, you still have Doughty, you still have Quick, you have still Dustin Brown, you still have guys who have been there, done it, and especially now because they have a lot more younger players in their lineup. I think an upset's going to happen. I think the Kings are going to get by the Oilers because I just don't think the Oilers have the depth or the goaltending to make a deep run.
Wow, so, really? That's
the Oilers.
I thought for sure you'd be picking the Oilers here.
I just think the Kings are way too experienced. They have players who have won championships on that team, along with they have a lot more younger players who are really reinvigorating that lineup.
I'm gonna agree here with you. I think the Kings, their team is just better all around than the Oilers team. Something that bodes well for the Oilers in the regular season is the fact that in the regular season you see high scores a lot. For example, the Flyers just lost to the Capitals 9-2.
Hey, we were at that game.
That doesn't happen that often in the playoffs.
No.
I want to say the Golden Knights did that to the Avalanche or vice versa last season, where they won like 7-1 in a game.
Something like that, yeah.
And that was like the only time you really saw that. In the playoffs, everything is tight checking. and defense is tighter. Like you said, they still have those guys who have been to a championship in Jonathan Quick, Dustin Brown, Anze Kopitar, Drew Doughty. They still have those guys. And the Kings are right now, they're really playing well. They started out the season struggling, and throughout the rest of the season, they really picked it up and came over and really wanted to show that they had a good team. So I'm going to go with the Kings here. And also, Jonathan Quick is showing that he is still a monster. I mean, him and Carey Price owned the 2010s, in my opinion. And Jonathan Quick, I don't think he's quite ready to let go of that yet.
Yeah, and for me, like when it comes to NHL playoffs, like yeah, it's important to have stars, but you need a lot more depth. Like when it comes playoff time, because if you look at all the Stanley Cup winners in the past, they've all been teams who regularly utilize four lines, and I just don't think the Oilers have the players and the depth to really do that.
And also,
like they don't have the goaltending either, because I think you kind of saw with the Canadians, they didn't have the best like depth or high star power, but they had really good goaltending to kind of supplement that. I just don't think the Oilers have either of those things. So I just can't see them making a deep playoff run.
Yeah, looking same with me. Like with the Oilers, the defense and the goaltending is just not there at all. It's terrible. And I think that's really what's holding them back right now. They pour so much money into all these offensive players. Even on their defense, they're pouring money into offensive players in Darnell Nurse, who just got a really big contract, but he's an offensive defenseman. So, I mean, they're really not looking for that defensive stud and who will try to take the puck away from someone. But yeah, I think that's where the Kings are going to be able to take advantage of them and win them. Did you give me game predictions for the last two, Calgary and the Oilers?
Calgary, I have 5 games, a gentleman's sweep. For the Kings, I'm gonna go with another gentleman's sweep, 5 games.
I would say I think Calgary will be 5. I think the Oilers and Kings series, despite the fact that the Oilers don't have a defense, I still think that'll reach 6, just because of the fact that they still do have the two of the top goal scorers in the league. So, and the top point scorer in the league, perennial. Okay, I'm not going to try to say that, but in Connor McDavid, he's a perennial top point scorer in the league, and he's always fighting for the Hart Trophy. So, you can't count them out. So I am going to go with 6 games in the Oilers. All right, so let's move over to the Eastern Conference and go there. Your hometown boys against the Florida Panthers, who after the trade deadline were arguably the best team in the NHL.
I think they are the best team in the NHL. Yeah, as much as I want to be a homer and say the Caps and put a lot of belief in them, if I'm being quite honest, we'll be lucky to take it to 6 games, in my opinion. I mean, the Panthers are nasty.
Loaded.
I mean, yes, I think Freddie Anderson's playing very good in goal, but they just seem like too good of it.
Freddie Anderson's on the Hurricanes.
Who's the goalie for
Bob?
Bob. Oh, Bobrovsky. He's playing good. Sorry, he's playing good. Yeah, the Caps, I just don't see, like, their goaltending it's been up and down. It hasn't really been there, and I can't see it happening, Tristan. As much as I want to, I can't see it happening.
I'm going with the same thing. I mean, the Florida team is just absolutely stacked. And props to the GM, because at the trade deadline, one of the reasons that the Flyers ended up getting the 2024 first round pick as opposed to the 2023 first round pick for Giroux is the GM knew what he wanted. And he said to Chuck Fletcher, he's like, look, our first priority is defense. We're trying to get, I believe they got Sherratt from Montreal. They're like, our first priority is defense, and that's what we're going to try to get. And we're going to use that 2023 first rounder for defense, and then we will go from there for you guys. And that's what they did. So props to him. He knew what he wanted, and it's boding well for him, because even with that trade, Claude Giroux is just really stacked that first line and has just made that offense so good. So yeah, like you said, this is one of the better teams in the playoffs in the league right now. So Florida, I think, will get a 5-game series here.
I'm gonna give Caps a little credit. I say 6.
I'm trying. Oh, Claude Giroux, since he's went over, he has 23 points in 18 games. So he's clicking over there easily.
Oh gosh, and Huberdeau is like top 2 in points or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just an offensive juggernaut just in the first line. Let alone you got Sam Reinhart later down the line.
First game's tomorrow, I believe.
Anthony Duclair, who I think is one of the most underrated offensive players in the league. And personally, I'm rooting for Florida here in the playoffs because I do want Claude Giroux to get that cup. He deserves it. I mean, he carried the Flyers team for 10 years and yeah, actually 12 years because he came in as a rookie in 2010. So he's been carrying that Flyers team for too long and he deserves a cup.
Yeah.
So Toronto and the Lightning. What do you have?
Toronto, I think, is going to pull another Toronto because
I thought you were going to say you thought Toronto was going to win.
No. I just think that this Lightning team is way too experienced, and Toronto, I still think, is lacking some real physical edge, which you need in the playoffs. And their goaltending, I think, is a real question mark. So I have the Lightning winning. I'd say it's going to be a 7-game series. I think it's going to be really tough, but I just see the Lightning prevailing again.
This is going to be another good series. I think the Eastern Conference has some pretty good series overall.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can also say that a little bit easier, being that we're a little bit more knowledgeable of the Eastern Conference, being that both of our teams are in the Eastern Conference.
But knowing my luck, that doesn't mean for much.
So I'm trying to pull up. Anyway, yeah, I think this is going to be one of the better. Okay. This is going to be one of the better series in the Eastern Conference. And I do agree with you. I think the Lightning are going to take the win here in probably, I think it's going to be 6. Now, if Toronto gets out to a 3-0 or 3-1 lead, then it'll be 7. I don't see Toronto being able to hold off the Lightning because the Lightning overall are just an overpowering team. They do have that full depth, and I think they could win. So this could go 6 or 7, and it'll all depend on that first half of the series, in my opinion. The first 4 games will decide whether it'll be 6 or 7. Next is the Hurricanes and the Bruins.
Another good series, and I have the Hurricanes winning this mainly because I just think they're a better team overall. I know the Bruins are experienced, but I think they're just too old at this point. Their goaltending, I'm a little weary on their goaltending, so I have the Hurricanes winning in 6.
Wow, I was starting to get a little nervous because we were agreeing on too many. But this is one where I am going to disagree with you because of the fact that, like I said earlier, the playoffs are tighter checking. You don't see as many high goal scoring games. And that is what Carolina is all about. They are all about those high scoring games. You don't need to play defense on your opponent. You just need to outscore them. And so I think that is going to be the reason that the Bruins are going to win it, is because the Hurricanes defense just doesn't really flatter me. And so I don't see them being able to stop that perfection line, because even though 2/3 of it are getting up there in their 30s, they're still a disgusting line. And so I think Boston's going to pull out of that one easily.
And this could be just the fact that I don't like the Bruins.
I think that one's going to be a 6-game series too. All right, this one
This
is
is another good
probably going to
series.
be the most entertaining series of the playoffs.
I have this going 7, but I have the Rangers because their goaltending has been so good this year, and I think that's going to carry over. And the youth of the Rangers, I think, is going to be able to overcome the experience of the Penguins because that Penguins team, they're still good, but I still think they're really aged at this point. So I have the Rangers winning it.
This is a battle of hated teams for me.
Mhm.
Uh, I despise the Penguins and the
I do too.
Rangers. The Rangers are not much further down. So either way, this is a lose-lose situation. But I do like Igor Shesterkin, and I think Artemi Panarin is a really good player. With Mika Zibanejad up there too. Adam Fox is one of the best young defensemen in the league. I'd have to give the best defenseman nod to Cale Makar, but Adam Fox is still up there.
I would go with Adam Fox if you're just talking about pure defensively,
If you're
but
talking
overall player,
overall,
Cale Makar.
um, but Adam Fox is still a really good defenseman up there for Norris again. So I am going to go with the Rangers here in 7, but this is going to be an entertaining series for sure.
Yeah, I have it going 7 games. Two teams that really hate each other, and they're two very good teams. What can you say?
All right, let's start off with that next matchup right there. For you, this is where things are going to start getting a little different because we're going to have different matchups here. So let's start off with the Canes Rangers for you. Tell me what you're thinking.
So the series between the Avs and the Wild. In the past, I've given the Avalanche the moniker of the West Coast Caps because it seems like every year they have a really great team, but losing the first and second round. Did they win the President's Trophy this year, or was that the
No, I
Panthers?
think the Panthers did.
Yeah, so maybe they don't have that curse, but I just don't have a good feeling about them. I have the Wild. I think they're going to go on a little bit of an underdog run, and I think they're going to beat them at 7.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I just don't trust the Avalanche in the playoffs. They haven't really showed anything to make me think otherwise. They always disappoint.
That's a surprise. Uh, I'll let you. Yeah, I'll let you just finish out the Western Conference, and then I'll do my Western Conference matchup. So go ahead and Calgary and the Kings.
So Calgary and LA. I've been really high on the Flames for a while, so I'm going to have them winning. I just think that Markstrom is going to be able to really step up along with Gaudreau and Kachuk, and I think they have a very good core, and I think they could beat the Kings.
All right, so you have the Wild and Calgary in the Western Conference Finals. Going through mine, in my first matchup, I have the Avalanche and the Blues. And looking at this, it's the Avalanche just scream like they should be able to win this. And that's the way I'm going to go. I mean, the Avalanche right now, they had the President's Trophy basically locked in for up until the trade deadline when the Panthers really stepped it up. And I just think that their team overhaul is just insane. I mean, there's no weakness on their team. So I just don't see where the Blues are going to be able to find a place to attack and not give up not be able to hold their team down. In the Calgary and the Kings series, this is another one where we're not seeing eye to eye because I think the Kings are going to go on a little run here, a little Cinderella run, and beat Calgary. And I think that overall the Kings have a little bit more polished team than Calgary at this point in the fact that they have a little bit more depth. Kempe, Adrian Kempe, I think his name is, he has an absolutely nasty shot. So he kind of flies under the radar, but he can score goals. They got Ian Iafolo, who's come up along the past couple of years. And like you said, they have those core guys who have been there and they've done that back in the 2000 early 2010s era when they were winning all those cups. So I'm gonna go with the Kings here and send them to the Western Conference Finals with the Avs. Then I'm gonna continue on and just go on to the Eastern Conference for me. Between Florida and the Lightning, this is gonna be a good matchup. This is this is a close matchup here with the Panthers and Tampa. This is a division matchup. And so I got to go with Florida here just because of the fact that their team is just all around I accidentally made too many. Just all around their team is loaded. There's no way that I don't think any team can stop them. Their offense is just too overpowering and their defense is enough to hold the other teams down from scoring. They're just overloaded the entire way. And in the Boston Rangers series, I think the Rangers are kind of in the sense that the fact that they weren't really on your radar the past couple of years, but now they're starting to step it up. And I still think they kind of have that underdog mentality. And I'm going to have the Rangers winning and playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think it's going to be Florida and the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals. So
you're not going to like what my prediction is because I have the same exact.
No. I'm going to lose now.
I have Rangers in Florida. I believe, didn't Florida and Tampa Bay play last year as well in the playoffs?
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah, and I predicted that they would play, but I predicted that Florida would win, but the Lightning did. I'm going to double down. I just think Florida, they have a better team than Tampa Bay, and I think they're going to win it. And with the Rangers, their goaltending and defense is just going to be way too much for the Hurricanes to handle. They're not going to be able to get enough opportunities to get past the Rangers.
I'll let you finish out your bracket, and I'll finish out mine.
Yeah, so in the West, I have the Flames going to the Stanley Cup. I just think that Jacob Markstrom, I just think that core is going to have a really good playoffs. And I can see them beating the overall more like inexperienced Wild. They're not as experienced as the Flames are, in my opinion. So yeah, and then in the East, I have the Panthers going to the Stanley Cup. I know you're going to hate that, but I just think they're a really, really good team. And especially with Claude Giroux, who's going to be hungry and who's experienced. I mean, he was on that team that went to the Cup. Yeah, so he was a rookie, but he's seen what it takes. So I just think he's going to be a big help to that team. And then I'm going to have the Panthers winning the Cup in 6 games.
Wow, I don't know if I like that
because you're enough something similar.
No, I just told you that I just told you I wanted the Panthers to win, which means they're now going to lose because
they're going to lose first round.
Probably going to get swept the first round, by
the Caps.
All right, so finishing off my bracket in the Western Conference, Avalanche and the Kings. You got an experienced Kings team against a little bit less experienced Avalanche team, but a loaded Avalanche team. And there's just too much power for the Kings to hold on to. And the Avalanche, I just think overall, they've been waiting for so long for this opportunity. They had a 4 to 5 year rebuild and they've done it right. And they're playing well. And this is what a rebuild can lead to if you do it right. And I think their time is finally coming that they can at least make it to a Stanley Cup. Maybe not win it, but they can make it. And that's one step closer to winning. And in the East, I'm going to have to go with Florida. Something that really really makes me think Florida has a really good chance is the fact that, like you said, Claude Giroux's hungry. And something that makes that even more intriguing is the fact that Claude Giroux isn't the guy. In Philadelphia, he was the guy. He was carrying the team to the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, he also had to be the guy to win in the playoffs. He had no help, didn't have any goal scorers. Now he's just a guy in Florida. He's not the guy. You got that weight is more on Huberdeau and Barkov, and he can just play hockey and enjoy it and have fun. And that's something that I think just makes him that much more dangerous. And the fact that he's not the same, he's a little bit more laid back now that he's with Florida as opposed to in Philadelphia. And that can help him just chillax and play the game. And with that, I am going to be having Florida win. Claude Giroux is going to get his cup that he deserves. And in my opinion, cement him in the hall. And I'm going to have Florida win in 6. And my MVP is going to be my boy, Claude Giroux. Taking a little bit of a homer pick there, but I mean, you've already seen it. The proof is in the pudding. Throughout the season, when he moved over to Florida, he has just been playing stress-free and has been putting pucks on sticks to be put in the net. And he's just playing amazingly. So I don't see why it would change in the playoffs. I mean, he's been there and he's done that, and he just hasn't seen the bright side of the playoffs. So this is finally his time.
Yeah, and hopefully it's my time to actually correctly predict brackets this time. But
now, with the fact that we both have Florida winning, since you have Florida winning, they'll probably lose. So
in the first round of the Caps,
my backup choice. And of course, you have that thought in the back of your mind of the Caps winning the cup, obviously, as a.
I want it to happen, but if we're being honest, it's
realistic.
Not going to.
But yeah, I mean, this, just to close it off here, this is my bracket. I have Avalanche beating the Predators, the Wild beating the Blues, Calgary beating Dallas.
You have Blues being Wild, not the other way around.
Yeah. I was just going top. So Blues beating the Wild. Thank you for that one. And then the Kings beating the Oilers, Avalanche beating the Blues, Calgary beating the Kings, or Calgary losing to the Kings. And then the Avalanche and the Kings in the Western Conference Finals, with the Avalanche going to the Cup. In the East, Florida over the Caps, Tampa over Toronto, Boston over the Hurricanes, and the Rangers over the Penguins. Then the Panthers over the Lightning, the Rangers over the Bruins, with the Panthers and the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals, with the Panthers going to the Cup and winning it all. And do you want to read off yours just to finish it out here, Jacob?
Yeah, so I have the Avs beating the Preds. I have the Wild beating the Blues. I have the Flames beating the Stars. I have the Kings upsetting the Oilers. Then I'm going to have the Wild upsetting the Avs, the Kings losing to the Flames, and then the Flames beating the Wild to make it to the Cup. Then I have the Panthers beating the Caps, sadly. I have the Lightning beating the Leafs. I have the Hurricanes beating Boston, Rangers beating the Pens. Then I have the Rangers beating the Hurricanes. Then I have Panthers beating Tampa. Then the Panthers beating the Rangers, and ultimately winning the Stanley Cup against the Flames.
So that is going to be our NHL playoffs episode. And hopefully you get a couple more right this year, because we have a lot more in common this year than we did last year.
We do.
So we need that. So if you guys want to actually watch us putting the bracket together so you can have a visual of what it is, you guys can watch that on our YouTube at Brotherly Love in the District. We're going to end that off here for this little mini episode, and we're going to have another episode coming out at the end of the week, like our normal episode. But with that, we're going to end it off there. So you guys can follow us at BL in the DC on Instagram, or you can DS questions and comments. You can email us at blinthedc@gmail.com, where you can email us questions and comments. And then you can like and rate us on Spotify and Apple. And with that, we are going to end it off there.
See you later.